Where is Brittany? Hey, this is for my Long Islanders out there. If you are near the Oyster Bay area, we have a person that is missing and we need your help finding them. Her name is Brittany Kritis-Garip. She's 32 years old. She's from East Norwich. She was last seen this past Friday. She was driving. It was 8:14 a little bit before 8:14. She's driving down the road. I don't know if she was with the husband, but the husband said that she was like in a panic state, freaked the fuck out, jumped out of the car, threw the phone, and then like took off on foot. So then he called the cops and was like, hey, like something is off, she's missing. The family is saying that she's not a danger to others, but they feel that she could be a danger to herself. So we don't know where she is. She's obviously somewhere on foot. She could be within the Oyster Bay area. Who knows how far she's gotten. So I'm going to show you a picture right now so you can see what she looks like. And I need you guys to be on the lookout, or if you see anything or if you hear anything, check your ring footage. Something is very strange here. Nassau County Police Department has sent out like drones, helicopters with thermal equipment so they could see if they could find her in the area, but they just haven't found her. Then there's also people that are volunteering, that are combing through the woods, family members, volunteers. They're just trying to find where Brittany is. You live in Oyster Bay, East Norwich, Oyster Bay Cove, or in the surrounding areas. Check your backyard, go for a little walk, see if you can find anything that's a little bit off. Look for articles of clothing, look for something that might be weird. Make sure that you're keeping your eye open, especially if you're in that area. She was last seen with a black jacket with a fur collar, black pants. She's 5'7", 140 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes, wears glasses, and she's 32 years old. Be on the lookout.
On the night of March 20th, 2026, a 32-year-old woman vanished in one of the most unsettling ways imaginable. Brittany Kritis-Garip was reported missing after Nassau County Police said she was last seen in Oyster Bay, New York, around 8 p.m. on foot. But public reporting added a detail that instantly turned this from a local search into a national mystery. According to her husband's account, Brittany had reportedly jumped out of a moving car, thrown her phone into a bush, and run off in a panicked state. Within days, helicopters, drones, volunteers, and local residents were searching woods, shorelines, neighborhoods, and hidden spaces. Then came another development that made the case feel even more ominous. Her wallet was reportedly found near Oyster Bay Harbor. And that raised the question that still hangs over this case now. What exactly happened in the moments before Brittany disappeared, and where did she go after that final sighting? Stay with me, because this case moves from confusion to urgency very quickly. And by the end, the biggest mystery is not just that Brittany disappeared. It is that so much of this case seems to pivot on a brief, chaotic sequence of moments that has still not been publicly explained in full. If you follow true crime with care and respect for real victims and real families, subscribe and stay with this one to the end, because every detail matters here. Brittany Kritis-Garip is not being described in public coverage as a cold case figure from years ago or a name from a faded flyer. This is current, immediate, ongoing. She is a Long Island woman, 32 years old, described by police as 5'7", about 140 pounds, with brown hair and brown eyes, last seen wearing black pants and a black jacket with a fur collar. Public appeals from loved ones paint the picture of someone deeply loved, someone whose disappearance sent family, friends, and strangers into active search mode almost at once. That emotional intensity matters because this is not a case where the search began months later or after a paper trail ran cold. Here, the alarm was raised fast. Search teams mobilized quickly, public attention accelerated within days, and yet even with that urgency, the case remains surrounded by unanswered questions. Nassau County Police publicly confirmed the missing person basics, but many of the details that people find most haunting come from family statements and media reporting, not from a full law enforcement reconstruction released to the public. That distinction is important. Authorities have confirmed that Brittany was missing and last seen in Oyster Bay on foot. Public reporting indicates that surveillance footage captured a last known sighting around that time. But police have not publicly laid out, in a detailed step-by-step narrative, exactly what led to that moment, what Brittany's state of mind was, where she may have gone next, or whether any criminal act is suspected. That uncertainty has created a case with two powerful layers. The first is the immediate human reality. A woman is gone and the people who love her are trying desperately to find her. The second is the investigative void around the last known moments. Because when a missing person reportedly exits a moving vehicle in distress, abandons a phone, and disappears into darkness, every minute becomes significant. Every location matters. Every recovered item changes the map. Every gap in the public timeline grows louder. And then, as the searches expanded, another thread emerged. Volunteers were urged to search not only woods and shoreline, but garages, sheds, porches, pool houses, and other secluded places where someone frightened or disoriented might seek shelter. That detail shaped public perception of the case. It suggested that loved ones feared Brittany may not simply have travelled far. They feared she could be nearby, hidden, vulnerable, and in need of help. Which means this case is not only about where she went, it is about what kind of danger she may have believed she was in, and whether that fear came from internal distress, an external threat, or something the public still does not understand. By the time her wallet was reportedly found near the harbour, the search took on a darker tone. Because once personal belongings begin appearing apart from the missing person, the case changes, not solved, not clarified, just heavier, more urgent, and much more complicated. That is where this story begins to turn, because the deeper you look at Brittany Kritis-Garip's disappearance, the more you realize this is not just a missing person case. It is a timeline puzzle built around panic, movement, isolation, and a final path that still has not been publicly traced to an end. The first thing we have to understand is Brittany herself, the world around her, and why those last reported moments have become so central to everything that followed. To understand why Brittany Kritis-Garip's case has resonated so strongly, you have to begin with what is ordinary about it. Not sensational, not dramatic. Ordinary. She was a 32-year-old woman from Long Island whose disappearance became public, not because of some long, tangled criminal history or a dramatic prior media profile, but because the circumstances of her vanishing were so abrupt and so difficult to make sense of. In many missing person cases, the first challenge is establishing whether the person intended to leave. Here, the public narrative moved almost immediately in the opposite direction. Loved ones were not describing a planned disappearance. They were describing sudden panic, vulnerability, and the possibility that Brittany needed help. That framing matters. According to public reporting, Brittany's brother described her as vulnerable. Search organizer Sarah Castor wrote that the family believed Brittany was disoriented and frightened and might think she was in danger. Those are careful words, but they carry enormous weight. They suggest that the family's fear was not simply that Brittany had wandered off. Their fear was that Brittany may have been operating under a sense of threat that did not match the environment around her, or that she may have been responding to something that has not yet been publicly explained. Either possibility is troubling, and that is where the case begins to grip people. Because when someone disappears after reportedly fleeing in panic, the question becomes immediate. What caused that panic? Publicly, there is no full answer. Teague police have not announced a detailed explanation for Brittany's reported distress. Public reporting has consistently attributed the account of her jumping from the vehicle and discarding her phone to her husband and family statements, not to an independently released police reconstruction. That does not mean the account is false. It means responsible reporting requires precision. Some elements are confirmed by police, others are reported through family and media channels, and in a case this sensitive, that distinction is everything. According to Nassau County Police, Brittany was last seen in Oyster Bay on foot around 8 p.m. on March 20th. Public reporting indicates surveillance footage captured her last known movements around that time, with one widely cited report placing a last confirmed sighting on video at approximately 8:14 p.m. But even there, caution matters. The existence of surveillance reporting has been repeated across outlets, while the exact minute has appeared more in community posts and secondary reporting than in a formal police timeline released to the public. That may seem like a small distinction, it is not. In missing person investigations, one precise timestamp can shape search grids, travel radius assumptions, witness canvases, and theories about whether a person remained in one area or moved quickly beyond it. The geography of this case is also important. Oyster Bay and nearby East Norwich are not featureless places. They combine residential pockets, wooded areas, suburban roads, shoreline sections, and spots where a person could become hard to locate quickly, especially after dark. Volunteers and relatives searched not just open areas, but also the kinds of places people may overlook. Under decks, inside sheds, garages, pool houses, and sheltered corners of private property. That is not the way people search when they believe someone calmly left town. It is the way they search when they fear a person may be nearby, hiding, injured, disoriented, or unable to safely return on their own. What also gave the case momentum was the speed of the response. According to reporting, Nassau County Police used helicopters and drones multiple times during the search. That level of visible effort tends to signal both urgency and difficulty. It suggests authorities believed Brittany could still be within a searchable zone, but also that ground efforts alone were not enough. It tells you something else too. From very early on, this was treated as a serious, active search, or not a routine, delayed follow-up. And yet, for all the resources, the case did not quickly resolve. No public announcement said Brittany had been found. No public law enforcement statement laid out a clear criminal theory. No arrest. No obvious conclusion. Just an expanding search, growing public concern, and a case built around a final chain of events that still felt fragmented. That is why Brittany's story has pulled so much attention in such a short time, because every piece of the public timeline sounds urgent, but the larger picture remains incomplete. Then came one more emotional layer. Community support mobilized fast. A GoFundMe was launched to support search costs and help hire a private investigator. That effort reportedly raised substantial support within days. In missing person cases, that kind of public response often reflects more than sympathy. It reflects fear that time is slipping away and that families cannot afford to wait for answers. It reflects a community deciding that official searches alone may not be enough. And it reflects a painful truth. In many disappearances, families feel forced to become investigators, organizers, and public advocates all at once. So before you even get to the most mysterious pieces of this case, you already have a powerful foundation. A woman disappears abruptly. Her family says she was in panic. Police confirm the disappearance. Surveillance reportedly captures her final known movements. Search aircraft go up. Volunteers flood the area. Private fundraising begins. And still, the central question remains unresolved. Because if Brittany Kritis-Garip was last seen on foot after reportedly fleeing a vehicle in distress, then the entire case may hinge on what happened in the minutes before she stepped out, what happened in the minutes after she ran, and whether the fear driving her actions came from perception, circumstance, or something far more concrete. The most critical stretch of this case is also the least publicly explained. The short span of time leading up to Brittany Kritis-Garip's disappearance and the minutes immediately after she was last seen. This is the part of the story where every detail matters, but where responsible narration has to slow down and separate confirmed facts from reported claims. The confirmed baseline is simple. Nassau County Police said Brittany was last seen on March 20th, 2026. around 8 p.m. in Oyster Bay on foot, as that is the anchor point. Around that confirmed fact, public reporting builds the larger narrative. According to her husband's account, Brittany was in a panicked or distressed state, exited a moving vehicle, threw her phone into nearby brush, and ran away. Several outlets repeated that account, but importantly, they did so by attributing it to family reporting rather than presenting it as a fully detailed police reconstruction. That distinction matters because it leaves us with two simultaneous realities. One, there is a basic missing person case with a confirmed location and time. Two, the most psychologically important part of the story, the reported panic, still sits in a grey area of public understanding. Was Brittany reacting to a misunderstanding? Was she experiencing fear tied to some private crisis? Was there a confrontation or event in the vehicle that has not been publicly laid out? Police have not announced those answers, and when a case begins with panic but offers no public explanation for it, people naturally start trying to fill the silence themselves. But here is where the case took a darker turn. Searches did not remain broad and theoretical for long. They became increasingly focused. Family members and volunteers canvassed wooded areas, suburban pockets, and shoreline-adjacent spaces. Then, according to local reporting, Brittany's wallet was found near Oyster Bay Harbour in the area of Florence Avenue, described as marshy and sandy near the shore. Search organisers reportedly urged volunteers to focus on a 1-mile radius around that area. That discovery did not answer the case. It deepened it, because a missing phone can be explained by the initial account. A wallet turning up near the harbour raises a new set of questions. Did Brittany move there herself? Did she drop it while disoriented? Did environmental factors or later movements separate the item from her? Or does the wallet point investigators toward a path the public still does not fully understand? One of the most important rules in a case like this is to resist overstating what evidence means. A wallet near water sounds ominous, but by itself it does not prove foul play, self-harm, or any single theory. It is a clue, not a conclusion. Investigators care about a clue like that because it helps define geography. It may narrow search patterns, it may suggest Brittany reached that area, or it may only indicate that something connected to her did. Only what remains unclear is whether any forensic details tied to the wallet, surrounding terrain, or other recovered property have been established publicly. Police have not announced that publicly. There is another layer here too, the phone. Public reporting says Brittany reportedly threw it into a bush before running. That detail has enormous investigative significance. A phone is not just a possession, it is often the best real-time timeline source in a disappearance. Calls, texts, location data, app data, device movement, tower pings. If Brittany intentionally discarded the phone, then one of the strongest digital anchors in the case may have been severed in the very moment she vanished. If that account is accurate, then the disappearance is especially difficult because the most common modern trail may have ended almost instantly. And then there is the question of movement. Public reports suggest surveillance captured Brittany after she left the vehicle. If that is accurate, then investigators likely have at least one visual data point after the moment of separation. But police have not publicly released the footage in full, nor have they publicly mapped a definitive route beyond the broad fact that she was last seen in Oyster Bay on foot. That missing route is one of the biggest open loops in the entire case. If Brittany ran into a residential area, someone may have seen her. If she moved toward shoreline terrain, the environment may have swallowed vital evidence. If she sought shelter, she may have remained close by, unseen. Every one of those possibilities keeps the case open in a different direction. This is also where key people around the case come into focus. Publicly, the most visible figure has been her husband, Fernando Garip, because his account shaped how many people first understood Brittany's disappearance. That alone does not imply wrongdoing. In many missing person cases, the last person with direct knowledge becomes central simply because they are the primary witness to the final known event. But it does mean his version of events occupies an outsized place in the public narrative, and whenever that happens, the public starts asking hard questions. What exactly was said in the car? Who else was present, if anyone? How fast was the vehicle moving? What happened immediately after Brittany exited? How quickly was help called? Those are not accusations. No, they are the kinds of timeline questions investigators ask in any case built around the last known witness. Publicly, police have not announced any criminal allegation against him or any named person of interest. That matters. So does the fact that the public still lacks a detailed official account. By now, the case had all the ingredients that keep people up at night: panic, darkness, missing time, incomplete public answers, a recovered personal item near the water, and a family pleading with people to search every possible hidden place. But none of those elements on their own resolve the central mystery. They only sharpen it, because the deeper problem in Brittany Kritis-Garip's disappearance is that the evidence points in more than one direction at once. The reported panic suggests immediate mental or emotional distress. At the shoreline search suggests environmental danger. The rapid mobilization suggests urgency. The lack of public criminal allegations suggests caution. And the longer the case remains unresolved, the more each clue begins to carry competing meanings. So the question becomes, what do these clues actually support, and what do they fail to explain? Because soon, the theories will begin to branch out, and this is where the case forces you to confront how little can be proven, even when the disappearance itself feels so dramatic. Once a missing person case reaches this stage, the public usually starts sorting the evidence into theories. And with Brittany Kritis-Garip, the theories emerge almost automatically because the known facts are alarming but incomplete. A woman disappears after reportedly fleeing a moving vehicle in distress. Her phone is reportedly discarded. Her wallet is later reportedly found near the harbour. Search aircraft are used. Volunteers scour hidden spaces and shoreline terrain. Yet no public police statement, at least from the reporting available now, has declared exactly what investigators believe happened. That vacuum is where theories grow. The first theory is the most direct. Brittany may have been disoriented, frightened and vulnerable, then became lost or unable to safely return. This is the theory most closely aligned with public appeals from family and search organizers. It is supported by their repeated requests that residents check garages, sheds, porches, pool houses, boat covers, and other places where a frightened person might shelter. It is also supported by the reported panic itself. If Brittany believed she was in danger, whether accurately or not, she may have prioritized escape over orientation. At night, in a mixed landscape of roads, wooded areas and shoreline, a person can become difficult to find much faster than most people realize. What weakens this theory is not that it is implausible, it is that so far, publicly, it has not produced Brittany. A fast, heavily publicized search with drones, helicopters, volunteers, and local canvassing would ideally have found some trace if she remained nearby for long. That does not disprove the theory. It just means the terrain, timing, or some unknown factor may have complicated it. The second theory is accidental harm after flight. Under this theory, Brittany may have made her way into marshy, wooded, or shoreline-adjacent terrain and encountered environmental danger. Or the reported discovery of her wallet near Oyster Bay Harbour is one reason this theory gets attention. Water, mud, shoreline drop-offs, poor visibility, and cold conditions can turn a brief escape into a life-threatening situation. What supports this theory is geography and the recovered personal item. What weakens it is the same limitation that shadows the whole case. The public does not yet know whether additional physical evidence has been found that ties Brittany directly to a specific accident site. Police have not publicly announced that. Then there is the theory that many viewers will think about even if they are careful not to rush there. Whether something happened before or after Brittany left the vehicle that has not been publicly disclosed. This theory exists because the most dramatic part of the timeline is also the least explained. People here jumped from a moving car in panic and immediately ask what triggered it. Did Brittany perceive danger from inside the vehicle? Was there an argument, a misunderstanding, a crisis unrelated to anyone else? Publicly, there are no announced charges, no named suspect, and no official statement that foul play is suspected. That weakens any claim that this is clearly a criminal abduction or assault case. But the theory persists because the originating event, the panic, still lacks a public explanation. In other words, this theory is driven less by evidence the public can point to than by the unresolved gap at the very start of the timeline. And there is also a broader issue running through this case: how modern missing person investigations unfold in public. Families now fight on two fronts at once. They search physically and they search digitally. They organize volunteers, fundraise, circulate still images, ask neighbors to check cameras, and try to keep attention alive before the case fades. That is exactly what happened here. The public involvement became part of the investigation's momentum, but public attention is a double-edged sword. It can generate tips and urgency. It can also generate rumor, narrative drift, and suspicion beyond what the evidence supports. Cases like Brittany's show how quickly a real-time disappearance can become an online puzzle people think they can solve from fragments. Usually they cannot, and when they try, families often pay the price. What remains emotionally powerful about this case is not just the mystery, it is the image of a disappearance happening almost in motion. Not a person gone overnight with no known last movements, a person seen, a person reportedly running, a person close enough in time and place that rescuing her must have felt possible. That is why this case hits so hard. It feels like something that should have been stoppable, something that should have left a clearer trail, something that should by now have a more definite answer. But as of the latest public reporting I found, Brittany Kritis-Garip has still not been publicly reported found, and that means the core questions remain where they started. What caused her fear? Where did she go after that final movement on foot? What does the wallet near the harbour really mean? And is the truth of this case hidden in the environment in a brief private interaction, or in some factor investigators know far more about than the public does? For now, all that can be said with confidence is that Brittany matters, this case is active, and careful attention still matters more than noise. Because until authorities provide more answers, the most responsible thing anyone can do is hold on to the distinction between fact, report, and theory, and keep the focus where it belongs, on finding Brittany and understanding what truly happened that night. And that is what makes this case so haunting. Not just that Brittany disappeared, but that she vanished in the middle of a moment that sounded urgent, visible, and close enough to stop, yet somehow still slipped beyond reach. Brittany Kritis-Garip is more than a headline and more than a mystery people talk about online. She is a real person at the center of a real search, with loved ones still waiting for answers. As of March 31st, 2026, public reporting indicates the case remains unresolved and authorities have continued asking for public help. If someone saw Brittany that night, if someone's camera captured a detail they dismissed at first, or if someone knows something about her movements after that final sighting, that information could matter more than they realize. If you have a theory, leave it in the comments, but keep it responsible and grounded in what is actually known. Share this video so more people see Brittany's face in this timeline, and if you know anything that could help, we'll contact the Nassau County Police Missing Persons Squad at 516-573 7347. Subscribe for more careful, in-depth true crime documentaries, and above all, keep Brittany Kritis-Garip in focus until this case has answers.